Good evening, everybody. My name is Matt Lindberg. I'm going to be helping facilitate tonight's event, but don't you not worry, I will not be doing all the talking. I want to say thank you for coming out. This is our Scouting Out of COVID presentation hosted by the Twin Valley District. I am the Twin Valley District Executive. With me tonight, we have a cadre of people helping us put some information out there into the ether. I just want to say thank you to Don Kubik. He is the chair of our Enterprise and Risk Management Committee. Don is going to be giving us the overall structure of the council resources that we have. Then Vibha Goyle and Mike Lennox are going to be tag teaming the Scouts BSA and Venture Crew breakout session. So Mike and Vibha, thank you so much. They are members of our district operating committee here in Twin Valley. There's me, Matt Lindberg. I'm going to be helping facilitate the Cubby breakout room. So you're going to be coming with me if you're in the Cub Scout program. And then as always, a big thank you to Mike Allison for his support tonight.
What happened to them?
Tonight is being recorded. Yeah, so just in case you were not able to,
I guess I should have put it in later.
Participate in tonight's activity.
Yeah, because it kind of
we're going to send that out. And also too, if everybody could please mute their microphones just right now so that way we can maintain a single voice in tonight. That way we don't have to do any editing in the post-op. Thank you, Mike Allison, in advance for your editing. Let's move on to just some expectations for tonight. Please, this is a heated topic, right? How do we deal with COVID? How the heck are we gonna overcome this hurdle? A lot of people are going to have some differing opinions. I just want to say, please, let's follow the Scout Oath and Law. Let's be respectful of other people's opinions. If we could, and I know we can, let us keep all politicians out of our mouths, right? We do not need to say anybody's names. We do not need to bring up a specific party. Scouting is apolitical. Let us keep it that way. So we should not be mentioning any type of governments or governors in tonight's meeting as well. And lastly, remember our goal here tonight, folks, is for us to provide program for our scouts. All right. So please, let's refrain from things like, well, I saw the Little League website posted something like this. Well, we are not the Little League. We are the Boy Scouts of America, right? So let us maintain our program, our resources. And with that, I think we will have a very successful evening. So Don, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here and I'm gonna toss it over to you. Don, thanks for coming out.
Thanks for inviting me. Glad to be here to see everybody down in the Twin Valley District. Right now I'm up in the Diablo Sunrise is mine. So I'm your neighbor to the north. So, yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about COVID, and let me just start saying a little bit about the way the Enterprise Risk Management Committee, and pretty much just our goal and our mission is to basically help everybody from the council, the professionals, and all the way down to all the way to with all the volunteers, and their program. Our job is to provide guidance. Our job is to provide resources. We have some, experts and stuff that we can use to assist you. What we are not is we're not an enforcement organization. It's not our job when I come out and play gotcha and any of that type stuff. My job is, I guess, realistically, I want to do everything possible to help you guys, get our program to our youth. We want to get outside. We want to have fun. That's what the whole purpose of, what scouting is. And my job is just to hopefully try to make it as safe as possible. And I will say about risk, one thing is we have to look and measure what kind of risk we're willing to take. And one thing I will say though is we cannot eliminate all risk. Actually, this past year we've learned a lot about eliminating all risk, and we see what the type of program we have. So we've got to put all our pieces together and see what we can do, to have a good program for our youth. So I'll jump right now. I'll show you. I'm going to share my screen, show what resources we have as a council. Okay, and I think everybody can see the council website.
That is correct.
Okay, so yeah, this is the standard council website to show you where we have our new COVID information. Let me just say the way we've been dealing with COVID is it hasn't been a single person or just a group making all decisions and everything. I've been basically working with some of my committee members of discussions, as well as some other committees we're working with as well. I have a group of people I refer to as the COVID Brain Trust, which includes some of the risk management people, safety people, camping, some people having training and everything like, just to get different perspectives on this thing. And then we talk about things, have some ideas, and all the final decisions are made by the upper level in the council. Everything we do gets kicked up to the key five, and they do review things, have their suggestions and recommendations, and ultimately put things out. That's why sometimes it takes a little longer than we would like to get things out, especially our latest thing. So the COVID information is, if you look here, you got the little carousel thing. Got a nice little COVID picture here. It's also here. Okay, there's our COVID page. And what we did this time is we put some of the basic information there, as well as the key thing is a table that we have down here. And we're able to update that quite quickly. And that's one of the benefits of redoing this. So just talk about some of the things that as units we need to do. National had put out this restart checklist, which is the first thing here. And this is just a nice little basic checklist whenever we're doing any type of activities just to go through. And so for whenever you're planning any of your activities, follow the, this checklist they have put together, and they'll do a pretty, does a pretty good job. And then we also have a model COVID pre-event medical screening checklist. And this is something if you want to, basically you can have, some type of event, unit activity, or whatever, just some of the things to standard check things, people healthy, any symptoms, and, have you been exposed to anything? I'm sure all of you out in your lives have gone through this checklist, basically these questions anytime you go anywhere. Just real simple to see if there's any potential issues. If we have people who are sick, we just want to keep them away from this. And we've done actually, I think, pretty good. I don't think we've had really many issues at all with our youth, so or adults for that matter. So just another one of the tools we have in our arsenal to work with. But one of the key things is what kind of things we can do, what kind of groups we can have. And the key thing here is we're for the most part looking at what they call the cohort model. One of the challenges with dealing with all these regulations is that they're changing frequently. The size of the council, we're dealing with 10 different counties, 11 different jurisdictions. If you throw in the city of Brentwood, city of Berkeley, they do their own thing. So trying to keep track of everything, stuff coming from the state as well as from the federal government. So that's what makes this really challenging. And sometimes the information is not specific. They don't have a specific Boy Scouts of America, this is how it works for you guideline. So we're trying to put all the pieces together. One of my favorite, one of the challenges too is that if you read through some of these documents, you find sometimes a lot of contradictory information. And my favorite one is, we're describing the cohort, where the specific in all the documents, says a stable group of no more than 14 children or youth, and no more than 2 supervising adults, or a configuration of no more than 16 individuals total. The first part of that's very absolute, and it said, or some mixture of them. I don't know. So that's one of the challenges. We're trying to look at all these things. So we try to have references to this, as well as most of the counties are very similar, but we have a few outliers that are challenged. So I'm going to jump to the table right now that we set up. And this basically describes the type of activities that the council recommends per the basically the current state of the various counties. And if you notice, everything is in red at the above. It's all color coded to coincide with the state's blueprint for safer economy. So everybody moved out. The entire council is now in the red tier. Everybody's out. Alameda County will be most likely shifting to the orange tier on Tuesday, the next time things are updated. I was looking at the numbers. So Alameda County will be moving up. The one thing I will say with these different change in tiers, a lot of it deals specifically with the type of businesses and where the business activity goes. There's not a whole lot of variation and difference for necessarily our type of scout activities, just a little more options. So if you look basically for Alameda County, so I think that's where most of that's where the district is. The type of things we can do. Basically, unit meetings. We have IP, green for in-person, yellow for hybrid, in-person, and basically virtual type stuff. The other thing to see, V, stuff that's pretty much a straight virtual, and C is things that are closed. So, so for a lot of the actually outdoor activities we can do in person. Again, we need to follow the cohort model of a relatively small group with adults. 14, 2 adults, or some combination thereof. Essentially, it works quite nice if you think with the basically patrol method. One of the things, one of the positive things, one of the things I've seen lacking a lot of out and about is the patrol method being used effectively, and this is sort of forcing patrol method to a certain extent. So try to find the bright spot in all the stuff as much as possible. So for things like Eagle projects, fundraising activities, outdoor day activities, overnight. We can do some overnight camping. We're limited since in our camps. Some camps we allow overnight, some of them not. I'll talk about that in a second as well. Recruitment, that'd be where we have a lot of people from, different people coming through. So we can do some in-person stuff, but virtual is part of it. And I know the council membership I think they recently had a meeting in a big push to help getting membership up. There's a unit committee, parents. Again, most of these meetings should be outside, even in the red tier. They recommend indoor gatherings, for small groups, maximum 3 households. So fortunately, the weather, well, except for today, the weather is getting nicer out there. So a lot of the stuff can be shifted outside. But committee meetings and stuff, I think, work good virtually as well. And unit meetings, a big unit meeting, everybody inside, that's probably not going to work as well. But however, you do an outdoor meeting, again, using the cohort size, small groups, smaller groups, you can do, definitely get the kids, scouts out together doing things. That's the basic unit type stuff. The camps, one thing we have to look at the camps is there's more involved with camps than just what's permitted, because our camps are also workplaces, so we also have to consider the staff and dealing with that. So basically with Los Mochos, Royane, and Wente, they're open for a lot of the activities. One thing we're really encouraging for units to come if we want to do an overnight is basically for service projects at the camp. Since the past year and stuff, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Also, the storms we had earlier this year did a bit of damage. I know some buildings were damaged at Wente, some really, as well as actually at Camp Wolfboro too in the mountains. We had some damage. Fortunately, the buildings themselves were ones that aren't really being used much and would be on the block to be replaced anyway. So it's not a huge there, but we definitely at all our camps definitely use service project hours. So it's a good way of getting kids out. One thing Camp Wolfboro is closed to everything right now. It has nothing to do with COVID. That has to do with snow. If you haven't been to Camp Wolfboro, generally we really can't access it maybe till May. Snow. Well, this year we haven't had a lot, but we're getting some later rain now. So That's why Wolfboro was closed. And if you haven't had a chance to get to Wolfboro, it's definitely a really nice camp, very rustic. And I will say, I'll give a plug for Wolfboro. Once you get to the camp, it's one of the flattest scout camps you'll run into. Because it's in a valley floor, so it's flat, which is good. Because most scout camps everywhere else are very hilly, and most of them I say are designed by Escher. No matter which direction you're going, you're always going uphill to something. You just that's scout camps for some reason. So Wolfboro, once you get there, it's flat. Fortunately, it's a 4-wheel drive 2.25 mile road to get down to it. But once you get there, it's good. So just a little plug for coming to Wolfboro. If you haven't had a chance, it's a really nice camp. The council meetings, all the council stuff we're still doing virtually, as well as from the district activities. Again, for right now, for camporees and stuff, we're looking only day-only type of activities. I know some are doing some virtual, other camporees. I think some districts are, and also some other councils as well. Service projects, definitely in person. Border reviews. I think we're eventually going to be, starting to do those in person as well. Again, basically one youth, small groups doing it. But I think the virtual Eagle boards have been working pretty good, but I still think in person with everything else is better. And most of the other bigger district meetings, like this meeting here, commissioner meetings, roundtable, I think work very well virtually. And that's one of the big plus. I'm a roundtable commissioner up in Diablo Sunrise, so this really forced my hand to do video type stuff, and so there's some positives, another positive coming out of this. And then you see some of the other things as well, some of the training. Again, a lot of the stuff will be changing as we come. Probably the first big council training we have is NYLT. We have that in April at Camp Herms. That will be in person, however, will be modified a bit. We're not going to actually do any overnight material part, and the food service is changed from what is typically done. So, but we're looking hopefully to move that stuff up. And as you probably saw some emails and other announcements earlier this week with the change of the tiers, basically the state has said that the resident camps can't open on January or June 1st. So we're real pleased that we're working really hard. A lot of plans going into getting Royne, Wente, and Wolfboro up and running. So I'm really excited that we'll do that. The state will come out with some more information at the end of the month, guidelines for those camps. So I hope that'll give us a little more guidance on the type of stuff we can do. One thing I will say, any of you who sat through the planning meetings or the leader meetings last year, when we had the basically talk about the cohort model, the big group of 50 people and stuff like that, it's not going to work that way. That started looking really scary after all the planning, all this, putting stuff and go, that's not a camp I really want to be part of. So we'll probably still use some cohort model, but it'll probably be based on the units, not a big group of people. So that's a big positive. That's the basics of the stuff that, from the council we have, and we're constantly reviewing this stuff. I'm going to the, county website, state website all the time. Tuesdays especially, because that's when all the things change usually. So I expect, like I said, Alameda County to shift to orange. Again, it's not going to impact a lot of the stuff we do, but I mean, I think things are looking very promising for the very near future of trying to get back to somewhat normal for a lot of our scouting activities. And the only other thing I'll say is I'm working on a statement right now. We'll go through review. Is regarding vaccines. We're definitely going to encourage all leaders definitely get vaccinated when you can. I know definitely for the summer camps, we want people to be vaccinated. We try to get everybody, all the leaders vaccinated. Youth naturally wouldn't be, since nothing's approved for them yet. But I think starting about now, I think lot of the scout leader stuff can fall under some of the, I think it's what, group 2B, as part of the educational stuff, scout leaders can fit. So we'll put, recommend, go to whatever websites and stuff for doing the vaccines. I was looking myself and everything is pretty well booked up. And even though what the state says and the county says, a lot of the individual vaccination places have specific requirements of the kind of people they're doing. Some are only doing seniors, 65 and older. One of the few that pop up is like Safeway. They got a whole bunch of things. A lot of them are very concentrating on teachers. And from my point of view, I'd like to, okay, fine, let's get the teachers vaccinated, get them and the kids back in school, and then I'll be happy to wait till after them. So one of the things to, you can keep monitoring where you are, and sometimes you may have some, some fit into the special categories as well. So I think that's going to be moving along. I think, next couple of months, I think most people will be able to get vaccinated. So it's something I'm looking very positive. So does anybody have any questions? Let's open it up to that.
Yeah, actually, Don, before we hit the questions, I just wanted to give like a brief overview of the materials that you did, because this is a little dense, right? So for some people, this may be the first time that they've ever seen this website before. So I just wanted to bring back, can I do this? The final slide of my presentation. Boom, okay. Wow, there we go.
Amazing. Stop sharing, so it's back to you.
Yep. Okay, so I think everybody can see this screen here. So overview. So this overview, right? So you want to gather your resources. You as your unit leader, you want to make sure that you go to that website, ggacbsa.org/COVID. And on that website is going to be every little handy dandy paper, resource, and tool that you would need. It's going to go over the BSA sanctioned national handout of how to restart your unit safely, including getting your PPE prepared, your restroom set up, any other additional resources, right? So step 2 would be communicating with your committee that you want to get this back up and rolling and in person, and you need to create that plan. Now that plan is going to come into step 3. You're going to show that plan to your charter organization, and you want to get their approval in writing that it is okay for you to begin meeting in person again. The charter organization owns the unit. That is their unit. So they are responsible for what goes on inside that unit. So you want to gain, and when you show them the plan, right, you are therefore gaining their trust and their buy-in to help continue sponsor your unit as you go forward, right? So once that plan gets approved, you want to communicate that plan to your parents. You want to let them know that we are safely providing program for all of our scouts. You want to get their buy-in and their support as well. And then step 5 would be follow the plan. I'd put step 6 in there, be adapting the plan, right? If there's something that occurs, what would that look like for you to edit it to be malleable? I do think we need to, be prepared in this situation. So that means creating that plan, following that plan, and being flexible with that plan. So didn't mean to overstep a boundary there, Don. I just wanted to give a delineation of steps that would be helpful for this. So Don, it looks like we've got a few questions in the chat. The first one coming up was the question about the question was about the website. How often will that website get updated? If you know?
Actually, I just typed it in there. We'll be updating it as soon as we can. This past week when Lake went red, it was updated within a couple hours.
Phenomenal.
And that's one of the
go ahead.
That's one of the benefits that we have this table and set up this way. So we're able to do it. Since it's a visual thing, we're able to do it a lot easier instead of a lot of text, which has to go through various reviews. So
sure. Okay, Anu, I see that your hand is up and I see your question too. I'm assuming they're correlated, so I'll answer that. And if I don't, feel free to unmute and ask your question. Can we get a link to this presentation? Of course, it is being recorded, and we also have the PowerPoint, and we have all of your emails thanks to Zoom. So we will be able to get this presentation out afterwards. Anu, did you have a follow-up question to that?
Yes, please. I actually had a question different from what I typed in. So I was reading the spreadsheet where it says activities must be limited to 14 children, or based on each county, it's different. In Alameda, it says 14 children to supervisor adults. So what does that mean? 14 in a group or 14 total? Like, can we have multiple groups of 14 each, or just one group, 14, that's it?
So basically, they're trying to limit, basically definitely the size of groups. So the cohort model is, if you look at the way, basically it says 14 youth, 2 adults, or some combination thereof, the way the regulation is. So you have groups. And one of the things also, if you read the actual documents, and there's a link to the small group. And the thing is, if you have more than one of these cohort groups, they want you to basically minimize the contact or the intermingling of the 2 groups. So it's almost like a patrol method type of, it's very much like a patrol method.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's do Mr. Allison and then Mr. Orthman after that.
Hey, Don, first, I'm District Commissioner for Twin Valley, and I'd like to thank you for this work. This has been really invaluable for the Commissioner Corps working with our units, particularly that chart. It's just so clear.
Yeah.
If I might, I'd like to offer a gentle suggestion. The first 3 bullet points on that COVID page talk about some documents. I was working with a unit leader who couldn't find those documents. And as we scrolled through it together, we found that the links are down at the bottom of the page. And I might suggest, you can keep them there, but maybe embedding the links in the bullet point text itself to make it easier for readers to find that.
Well, actually, if you look at the, where the first one, step 1 checklist, the actual title is hyperlinked.
Okay.
So actually, all the the main things are hyperlinked.
Okay.
So the checklist, if you tap on, it's up there as well. It's there. So, and I think there's some of the, the cohort guidance is also hyperlinked under step 4. That's the last bullet point there.
So maybe that's not intuitive. So maybe we need to make sure it looks like a link.
Yeah. So let's make a note of that. That's why this stuff is good to see that people are actually using it to, get the point.
Mr. Orthman had a question, and then if we have any more, let's put them in the chat so we can tier them out. And then otherwise, we do have our breakout sessions after this as well too. So I do want to make sure that we get the questions answered so we can get those people into those breakout sessions.
Yeah, I actually had one statement and then one question. The statement is that if Tracy Safeway has a program right now that they have the no dose wasted, that if you sign up as an alternative for your first vaccination shot, if someone who was scheduled to show up that day did not, and they have a dose that they'll have to throw away, they will then contact you and give you 30 minutes to go to Tracy and get that shot. So if you, whatever tier you're in, they're doing current tier people. So if you can't get a shot through your regular provider, sign up for that and bring your medical card with you, and you can get one that way. I'm not sure if Scoutmasters fall under that educational. That seems a little pushing it to me, but we can all try.
Yeah, it looks like, actually, I'd say with that, it looks like some people are, and I think there's a document, this is actually something we're working on putting together, that the CDC has put together, basically including Scout activities underneath the educational.
If you could find that documentation for us to show to people, that would be awesome.
Yep. That we'll see. We're looking at that too, but also it depends on what they're looking at. Because I know the Safeway. So I went through. I filled it in because I can fit into a couple different categories, and they're very heavily onto the teachers, and they're the documentation they want to see is your ID and things like that,
right?
And stuff. So there's really nothing. It's a little more difficult. So it's from a scatter point of view. Yeah, I think we're especially the ones working with the youth directly, are definitely eligible, but there's a whole lot of people in line, so it might be a little more challenging.
Right, but I'm just saying, if you were on that alternate list, you might be able to get it faster because
That's
there are,
actually, yeah, I've heard that. A lot of people
that's
are
how I
using
got
that.
mine, you know.
The end
So,
of the day type things where, you know, and I know some places were fining people because they were giving it to people who weren't part of the group, but you'll know we're giving it to people instead of throwing them away, which we have to do anyway.
Right.
You know, so it's makes a whole lot of sense. So that's definitely a possibility, or,
So
yeah,
as
an
far as-
option.
as far as updating that page, I wasn't talking about just what tier we're in, but as they change what we're allowed to do, where their definitions of having a place where we can just go and look it up for us would be a lot easier than trying to fiddle through finding the most current copy from the CDC, the county, the state.
Yeah, basically we'll be updating the table and everything in the table as things change. And actually, I know in the past week, because last weekend, basically, I know Contra Costa County changed. Actually, everything but Lake had shifted it to red, and then a lot of the stuff underneath had been updated as well. So we're you know, looking at, I'm working on this. Keep my eye on this as well, and you know, trying to get the information updated as quickly as possible.
Well, we definitely this is what we've been looking for a while. So thank you for getting it.
I've been, you know, once we first got this first draft going, you know, it was, when is it going up? When is it going up? When is it going up? And I had one person, you know, say that, you know, oh, we need to make sure we use a lot of consensus for all this stuff. And I told him, okay, well, it's gone through here. We've had these people look at it. It's kicked up here. I mean, consensus is what takes a long time to a certain extent, and checking all the boxes.
So then the question I have is, you talked about cohorts and, you know, no more than 3 families. So, you know, is the cohort a social bubble? Because that to me sounds like something where they were talking about, you're in a cohort, you're traveling together, being together for a while, and then you don't break that by being interactive with other people, not a weekend camping trip. So some more direction on what that means. And
yeah, that's where it gets a little on the iffy and fuzzy side if you look at the definitions of what it is, you know, because the basically cohort model, this is, you know, based on, you know, it's for basically small group youth and children. So it's basically the group of children that basically will stay together, you know, that you keep basically for the activities. So if it's an overnight camp out, you know, you basically have this one group stay, you know, primarily together. If you're doing some other activities, service projects, all that.
So is the purpose for that more of contact tracing, or trying to limit exposure of, like, we know that we're all clear and haven't had the virus because we've been away from everybody for 14 days prior to this event?
It's actually, it's a part of both things too. So if there is some issue, then we can say, okay, we know we need to contact these group of people. Yeah. So, but it's I guess it gets you know, challenging. But the one thing though is, when we're getting to the children and stuff, you know, basically they're the least impacted by this, and as you know, transmission has been lesser with children than, you know,
Well, that whole thing is subject, because as it stands right now with our schools in Livermore, if we go backwards into the purple tier, you know, school continues as they're going to school model, unless you're in 7th grade or older, in which case you go home and distant learn because you're more of an adult, and we don't know if you have those receptor sites or not. So, I mean, that's right in the wheelhouse of scouting.
yeah, that is okay. Yeah. So I haven't seen what all the school districts doing a little something different.
And that's based on the number of receptor sites and how much of a chance or a risk they have of contracting the virus if exposed because of those receptor sites.
Yeah. So, you know, the key thing is just to keep the small groups and stuff, even within this, still keep the social distancing as much as possible, as well as the face coverings, following all those other, you know, the hygiene, the washing, all that type stuff.
Okay.
Hey, Don, oh, sorry, was there more on that?
No.
It just sounds like it's more of a contact tracing versus a trying to limit exposure and keep everyone from. So if we're still using the the mask and distancing, then that makes more sense. Thank you.
Yeah, that's all part of it. And I guess, and it's, yeah, I mean, nothing fits for what we're doing exactly. You know, so we're trying to look at the requirements, and like I said, some of the stuff's a little contradictory within itself.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the effort because it is confusing on all those different levels. So thank you.
It is, because it's, you know, and just the type of work I do, I try to be very non-committal, and that's
Hey, so Don, the last question that we have in the chat before we break off into our breakout rooms is somebody was asking about what necessarily that hybrid function means on the chat. So I was curious to know, because I did type in a response there, but I was hoping you could inform us a little bit further. What does it necessarily
mean? So Matt, this is Vin. I'm the one that posted that question. Actually, specifically what I'm asking, I think, is it's showing that day only activities can be done in person, outdoor, overnight, outdoor. What about like an outdoor troop meeting? I mean,
an outdoor troop meeting would fit into an outdoor activity.
Okay.
You know, if you're following the basic cohort model, and again, if you're doing patrols, that's you know, pretty much you know, works its way out. It works quite nice. And that's why we said, that's why they have the hybrid in there.
And just a follow-up question on that, in Alameda County, does that mean it has to be done during the day?
Don's not in Alameda County.
Huh?
You're not in Alameda County, right? So you're having to stretch your brain a little farther.
No, well, Alameda and Contra Costa County are our two main counties with the bulk of our councils. So that's what we're looking. That's where I spend most of my time looking at the information, and then out and about, as well as for campsites. So I'm not sure if I understand the question. So, you know, we're talking about normal outdoor activities overnight. You know, if you do like an overnight thing at Los Mochos, you know, that would be, you know, fall into, yeah, that'd be okay.
Okay. All right.
And stuff. And so, and let me just say one more thing. I'm going to put my email address in down in the chat. And we also have another, if you notice on the website, there's another address, safety@ggAC.org. That goes to several people. I'm one of the people that gets that email. So that works as well.
Hey, looks like
sometimes that might be a little easier to remember than my own email. That was, I forgot it here, safety@ggAC.BSA.
Take it away, Mike.
Don, I have a question about the overnight activities that are permitted.
Yes.
And the assumption is that they're doing all the normal social distancing that we typically do. But I think implied in that, there's also no tent sharing. Is that true?
That would be the recommended way at this point to avoid the tent sharing.
Unless they're already members of the same household, like siblings.
If it's the same household, yeah, the same household, you know, that you know, sharing a tent would be fine.
Okay.
Definitely would recommend, you know, especially you know, with this type of work, you know, there are going to be smaller tents and stuff. So everybody can have their own tent. You know, that works fine. I'm at no point. I know my point. At this point, I'm camping. You know, half the time when I'm out and about, I don't even bother putting up a tent anymore. I like to say I can rough it out in the open, but a lot of times I'm too lazy to put up and take down a tent.
Thank you.
But whatever works.
Yeah, Don, can you confirm parents and scouts are okay to be together in the same tent?
Yes. Yep, they're the same family unit. That should be, that's no problem. Yeah. And again,
well, as long as they're following YP guidelines, yes.
Yeah, as long as it's all following the you know, youth protection. Yeah, that's all part of that's everything that's, you know, YPT is the main over everything we do. But you know, parent and child can definitely be in a tent.